You know what's funny, buddy, is that I'm actually starting to enjoy Mailbag maybe even more than the actual podcast.
Yeah, well, these guys have better ideas for talking points than we could ever come up with,
Oh,
right?
it's like doing the podcast but without needing to do the show prep. It's
Yeah,
fantastic.
it's phenomenal.
Yeah. So, number one, hello to everybody who is tuning in right now. Welcome to the Walk Off. I'm Scott Belford, joined by Adam Mack. This is the Mailbag, where we kind of go through all of your YouTube comments from the last week, your messages, your Discord thoughts. Discord, by the way, is where we all kind of get together and talk Blue Jays. It's a group chat for the walk-off, basically, and there is a link in just below the YouTube here. You can click and join for free and get all of your thoughts in there.
Yeah, if you're
On
listening
that
on
note,
the audio side of the podcast, the link is in the show notes as well there. So no matter
by the
where
way,
you're seeing this, there is an invite for you.
exactly, and by the way, I've been very impressed with how interactive folks have been with us on Twitter. Like that, you guys have no problem sending a DM, which is very cool, and feel free to do so. And if you haven't yet, feel free to follow us on Twitter at Walk Off Podcast, on Instagram, the Walk Off Podcast, and our DMs are open. You can always shoot us a message, a thought, a question, whatever you want to do. If you want to get on the mailbag, that's a great way to do so. Also, I know we've got a couple in there from that this week. So let's get into it.
Okay, so this first one comes from YouTube. This is Joel, who says, always curious to know if the baseball nerds talking about the game would even be able to hit their way through a wet paper bag. Have you guys ever played the game competitively in your life? I'm incredibly intrigued to know the answer.
I love that comment. I also couldn't help but respond to it because it did make me laugh. So if it does matter to you, if we played baseball, I did play 12 years of baseball. I never played overly competitively. If by competitively you mean pro or college, but it was only because I couldn't hit my way out of a wet paper bag.
Yeah, my answer's pretty similar to that. I played balls since I was 4. I guess the highest level I played at was in the BC Premier League, which is pretty high level of baseball. That's like the development channel that basically everybody on the West Coast goes through. So some notable alumni there: Larry Walker, Justin Morneau, Brett Laurie, Tyler O'Neill, all went through the Premier League. So the league itself is good. I'm not claiming to be good. My biggest problem as well, I could not hit my way out of a wet paper bag.
So he busted us.
I was
busted.
fast and I was good
You got
defensively.
us.
I couldn't hit anything that moved. So there you go.
Once pitchers started to be able to throw anything other than a fastball, I
I
was
agree,
done.
man. I know. That's when I just started crowding the plate, and I was like, if I can just get clipped
Yeah.
and get on base. But
I remember my coach even being upset with me at times, being like, how can you not recognize the difference? Like, especially at this level, these guys aren't that good. I'm like, I can't. It all looks the same coming out of his hand.
what do you mean pick up the seams?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
So I guess the answer to that is there. So not really competitively. And if you only want to listen to people who played baseball competitively talk baseball, I guess this is not the podcast for you.
No, those who can play and those who can't talk about it. So here we are.
Yeah, that's right. Here we are talking about it.
Here we are talking about it. All right. Moving on now. Next one. But that was a fun comment. So thanks.
Yeah.
Next one comes in from Brian on YouTube. Says, great interview with Jamie. That's Jamie Campbell. I remember him broadcasting before he became the regular with the Blue Jays. He comes across just as he does broadcasting, a very genuine individual. So
He was so genuine and fun to talk to, eh?
it was awesome.
It was a little surreal because it's cool because I have been watching him since literally he got into pro broadcasting in '98 when him and Darren Millard were doing the CTV sports desk.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Yeah, he's like as long as I've been watching sports on TV, he's been the face of it. So
Exactly.
it was a pretty cool experience and pretty surreal to get to chat with him. Brian goes on to say, though, if you could get Pete Walker for an interview, that would be fantastic. So that's a great idea, Brian. We should try reaching out to Pete Walker. In all sincerity, though, Pete Walker would be a phenomenal get.
Oh, absolutely. I would love to chat
uh,
with Pete Walker.
there are a lot of names on the list next to Pete Walker's who we would also love to get, and we are working at it and chipping away to establish a good relationship within the Blue Jays organization. So you never know what the future may hold for this channel in a year or two. I think Scott and I
know
are both kind of blown away by the names that
What
we
we've-
have gotten to chat with. All at this,
Yeah.
I mean, we've only been doing this for like 2 years, right? So
18 months.
year and a half. Wow, that's crazy. So,
And it's very cool. While we're talking about the phenomenal guests that we've had on the show, we are releasing our greatest hits, the best of the year, if you will, on Friday, where Adam and I have kind of gone through all of the interviews and curated our favorite stories from everyone. We've got 10 really great tales that you can check out on Friday. And again, hopefully 2022, our greatest hits is even better. We can get guys like Pete Walker and so on and so forth.
Maybe Pete's older brother, Larry. Just kidding. They're not brothers, are they? Who's older,
No,
Pete Walker or Larry Walker?
I think Pete Walker is, but that is a good question. We would need to double
question.
check. They're both in good shape still.
I'm sure they're both better ball players than I ever was, even at whatever age they are. Okay, moving now to our Discord. Veracity says, I think Biggio's value is in a utility role. He'd be a waste to lock in for one position, I think. He prides himself on being versatile, and I think the Jays organization does as well, Scott.
Yeah.
He says, as long as he isn't our permanent fix for either second or third, that should be the direction. He could play those two positions in a pinch, but he needs to rotate around second, third, left, and right. What do you think?
I agree 100% with that comment. How do you feel about it?
Mostly I agree with it. But I would like to see like a weighted distribution of those four positions.
Yeah, I don't think we need to see an even distribution. I mean, I kind of view second base as his primary position. So if he can get 60, 70 games in at second, and then maybe 10 at third, and 15 in left, and
10
15
is
in
a good
right.
number at third. I don't want to see him play there
No.
for anything other than like to cover injury or to spell someone who needs like a day off. But that's my biggest concern is I don't want to see like 25, 30, 40 games at third base. So
One thing Veracity mentioned that I do agree with 100% is that one of the biggest values to Kevin Biggio is his versatility.
Absolutely.
And having that super utility player is incredibly important on a championship team. And that is kind of what everyone has in the front office anyways pointed to Biggio as, is that Ben Zobrist type of player who can be moved all around the diamond, play proficiently, and still provide that plate discipline and bat at the back end of the order.
Well, who's that free agent with the Dodgers that the Jays were in on and then never
Chris
signed?
Taylor.
Chris Taylor.
Chris
thank
Taylor.
you.
Yeah.
Perfect example.
Same sort of idea. Exactly.
Okay. This one comes from YouTube again. This is from just the letter T. So this is brought to you by the letter T. If you seriously want to upgrade any position defensively, it has to be shortstop. Bo Bichette is a good ball player, but an absolute terrible shortstop. His shitty glove cost us a playoff spot this year. Moving Vlad again would be flat out stupid unless Vlad says move me off first, which I don't think he will now that he's having fun talking to everybody on first base. Lot to unpack there.
Okay. Let's get into Bo Bichette here defensively.
Okay.
Because he struggled. That was the truth about the 2021 season, is that he struggled defensively. UZR, which is ultimate zone rating, is kind of a sabermetric statistic used to measure fielding, right? So it compares the event that actually happened to data on similarly hit balls in the past to determine how much better or worse the fielder did than the average player. Okay. So defensively, UZR this year did not like Bo Bichette at shortstop. He was a -5, ranked 150th, second worst among AL shortstops. He made a lot of errors.
He did.
24 errors total, 11 fielding, 13 throwing.
So 24 does tie him for first in the major leagues for most errors committed.
Mm-hmm.
Notable, though, Fernando Tatis had 22 errors and missed significant time.
Yes. So let's talk Bo Bichette just a little bit, and we have brought this up before, but I do think it is important to reiterate that Bo Bichette is 23 years old, and he has played 234 total major league games. He hasn't even played a full season and a half. Now, he seems like he has played more than that because he came up midway through the 2019 season, and then 2020 hit, and it was the 60-game season, and he only played 29 games that year because he was suffering from some injuries. Mm-hmm. So really, 2021 is the first year where he really got to settle into the position and be a full-time player. Another thing, a little caveat here to take out of his defensive year, if you will, is that in August he allowed 1 error, and in September he allowed 2. So the final 8 weeks of the season he allowed total 3 errors, which would be right there in the Gold Glove range of things for shortstops if he's going to allow 1.5 errors a month. He did improve incredibly. Another thing I wish to bring up about Bo Bichette and his struggles at shortstop in the first 2/3 of the season is how badly everyone who played third base played. Kevin Biggio was a black hole, completely out of his realm of comfortability at third base. Let's face it, we all enjoy Santiago Espinal, but when he would spell time at third, he was struggling. And yes, he shored up the position later in the season, but if you look at his errors throughout April and May and June, it's not like he was getting time at third base and was perfect either. Mm-hmm. Breivik Valera was no gem either. Like, third base was a struggle all year round. And so when the ball was hit to the left side of the infield, the errors at shortstop and the errors at third base, it just added extra pressure to whoever were playing those positions. And I think at 23 years old, Bo Bichette was putting too much pressure on himself to lift up that side of the infield. I don't see moving Bo Bichette as a good idea unless it's for somebody like Carlos Correa. And I could be full of shit here, okay? I'm not saying don't move Bo off shortstop. I'm just saying my personal thought on this is not to move him. You look at a guy like Marcus Semien, he was one of the worst shortstops in Major League Baseball for the first 3 to 4 years at that position. It is a very difficult position to play. It might be the hardest position in baseball, and yes, probably not harder than catcher, and there's probably even an argument to be made for center field. But if you're just going to, broadly make a statement, it is one of the most difficult positions to play, and it does take experience to get really good at a major league level. And Bo, again, has only played a year and a half at that position. Marcus Semien.
Can I just jump in on Marcus Semien here?
Absolutely. Yes.
So just because I have the numbers pulled up in front of me. So Marcus Semien's first full season as a shortstop with Oakland in 2015. He was 24 years old, so he's older than Bo Bichette. He'd been in the league that was his 3rd season at that point, but he played
full season,
2nd and 3rd, and kind of played around, right? So first full season at shortstop, played 152 games. He's 24 years old, so older than Bo is right now. Committed 35 errors.
So 11 more errors than Bo Bichette did in 2021.
And he's a, 3-time gold, or not 3-time Gold Glove winner, but he's like...
He's won a Gold Glove at shortstop.
He's won a Gold Glove. He's in the talks all the time now.
As one of the best in the league. Exactly. I know he's playing second base. However, when he was playing shortstop in 2019, he was considered one of the top. So to move a guy at 23 off a position where he is showing so much progress, and Bo Bichette led the league in hits this year. He had 191 hits. Do you know the value of a guy who hits like that at shortstop? It is through the roof. Yeah. So I don't wish to see him move to second base yet. I think that he truly will develop as a shortstop. Time will tell. And again, I'm not saying that this is a hard no. There are guys you would move Bo Bichette off a shortstop for, but very, very few. And I mean, I don't see them signing Carlos Correa. Where are you at on this, man?
Well, okay, going into this 2021 season, I was skeptical of Bo Bichette as the shortstop of the future as well.
So was I.
I thought no way this team is a World Series team with Bo Bichette at shortstop. I've kind of done a full 180 on that, and I'm not really worried about his glove or his range defensively. I'm a lot more concerned with his arm strength, and this year I thought he really took some big steps forward in that regard. You know, you mentioned the statistical split between the first few months of the year and the last couple months of the year, right? Like, I think that's a very encouraging sign.
It is, and it's very telling, right? And it shows how much work he put into the position.
Absolutely. Very young still. I think he's done nothing but earn an extended runway to land this plane. And I'm, at this point, confident enough to say, yeah, let's not do anything drastic at this point.
And who knows, dude? We could be looking at this comment from T in a year and being like, the guy had a crystal ball. We should have moved Bo Bichette. Yeah, but at this point, I still think he deserves, like you said, more runway.
I think even if Carlos Correa somehow made his way to the Jays, it would be as a third baseman.
Interesting.
I know there
was a rumor out there. I know there was a rumor out there that one of the teams that was interested in Correa wanted him to play third base. Kind of lines up with the Jays.
You never know. Are we starting rumors here? I love it.
Yeah.
All right. Let's head back to Discord for the next one. Thank you, T, for that comment. So in Discord here, Brandon Mack, no relations, started talking about Jose Ramirez and what it would take to bring him in. And then it turned into a pretty massive chat thread.
Yeah, that was a fun little thread they had going there.
Including, like half a dozen gals in the Discord there.
Discord.
So
I saw that.
Let's deep dive Jose Ramirez, shall we?
Yeah, I mean, we have talked about the trade possibility with Jose Ramirez many times. So one thing we haven't really done is taken a really deep dive into who Jose Ramirez is and what he looks like as a ball player, switch hitter, which is massive. Okay, and if you look at his spray chart, that's one thing that's incredibly impressive for a switch hitter is he hits that ball from both sides of the plate all over the field. He uses the whole field, and it doesn't matter what side of the plate that he is hitting from, which is incredibly impressive. And one thing I don't think gets brought up enough, and it's because he's in a small market, is that he is a top 10 ball player in the MLB.
Wow.
If Jose Ramirez played on the Yankees or the Dodgers,
he would be
talked about like Mike Trout and Mookie Betts. And if you disagree with this, listen to some of these numbers, okay? Because I started to deep dive his stats.
Lay it on me, Scott, because that's a big statement you just made. I'm here for it.
Players with a 270 batting average, a 360 on base percentage, and a 540 slugging slash line, and 50 plus stolen bases since 2017. And that's a minimum of 2,000 plate appearances. It's Mike Trout, Bryce Harper, Jose Ramirez. And not only that, Jose Ramirez has double the stolen bases that both Bryce Harper and Mike Trout has. Okay, players with 300 extra base hits, 300 walks, and 100 stolen bases since 2017. Jose Ramirez stands alone. Players in baseball history with more than 337 extra base hits, more than 312 walks, and more than 311 stolen bases from their ages 24 to 28 seasons, so their prime years. Jose Ramirez, by the way, turned 39 this year, or 29
Turned 39.
Ooh, 39, yeah. Okay. 29. So the names on that list are Barry Bonds, Willie Mays, Bobby Abreu, Sean Green, former Blue Jays, which just goes to show the kind of career he had in his heyday, and then Jose Ramirez.
I've heard of all those guys.
Yes.
All right. He's pretty
Jose
good.
Ramirez also while we're kind of getting into it, Jose Ramirez also had the fourth most wins above replacement and third most wins above replacement amongst position players since 2016.
Wow.
He's the same age as Mookie Betts and Aaron Judge. He's on pace for 300 home runs and 300 stolen bases for his career, man. Like, that is literally Hall of Fame numbers. And before we say Hall of Fame and go, whoa, okay, back it up here, that seems crazy. If Jose Ramirez puts up 2 more MVP level seasons in 2022 and 2023, like he has the last 4 years, literally his Hall of Fame trajectory is right there. He'd be coming off his year 30 season, so he'd be 30 years old at the end of this contract, and he'd have a 50 wins above replacement for his career. Like, that is insane. And on top of that, he's elite defensively.
All right. I mean, I was already in on him. Let's bring him in. What's it going to take?
So this is why I kind of wanted to deep dive his numbers and talk about what an elite talent he is, because he truly is one of the best players in all of baseball. It is going to take a haul, a massive, massive haul. And every team in the majors should want Jose Ramirez. Every team in the major leagues is hoping, fingers crossed, that one of their 100 top prospects within the organization becomes a Jose Ramirez, and most likely they won't. Okay, so if Blue Jays fans can understand how good Jose Ramirez is, then you're going to understand that the cost is going to be astronomical, and we're talking probably a Lourdes Gurriel Jr., along with 2 top prospects like Aroldis Martinez and Gabriel Moreno. Yes, that hurts. And then another higher-level prospect like Jordan Groshans.
Wow.
And the truth is that you look at those 3 prospects, and they are very highly touted prospects in Groshans, Martinez, and Moreno.
They're all top 10 in our system.
They're all top 10 in our system. But what are the chances that one of them becomes Jose Ramirez? It's still less than... Yeah, it's still like less than 20%. You know, like...
Plus, we skip the 5 years of development and waiting to get them there.
Exactly. And on top of that, as if all of everything we just talked about isn't enough, he's being paid $25 million over the next 2 years. Like, incredibly cost efficient.
Yeah. That's a big price, though. That is a Gold
Massive
Glove
price.
left fielder who's on a very team-friendly contract. Well, he's in his arbitration years, so
Yeah.
Lourdes is very cost-effective for us right now.
Yes, he is. Absolutely.
And then 3 top 10 prospects.
I mean, the truth is, Cleveland has no reason to trade him unless they get a haul. They're 2 years out. They could still trade him
Next year.
at the end of next year, like in the 2022 offseason, and still get a great haul for him.
You mean like 12 months from now?
Yes, 12 months from now.
Yeah.
So if you're not being blown away by the offers, keep him around.
Yeah. I do think, though, that his trade value in
it's the highest it
in
could
terms of
possibly
what
be
could
right
they
now.
get back, it's higher now than it is next year.
100%.
Barring a team getting desperate.
I mean, the Guardians back will be against the wall next offseason because pretty much they have to trade him if they would like anything in return. So, yes, they aren't in quite as a desirable situation to make a trade. However, they're still going to get some top-end prospects next year for him.
Absolutely.
And there's no need to give in, you know?
No, absolutely.
All that said, damn, I want Jose Ramirez. J-Ram on this team would just be so elite and so crazy.
Wouldn't that be nice? Well, he'd solve a bunch of problems with that left-handed hitting option. His abilities at third base.
Like, that's the thing. The fact he's a switch hitter, man. Like, and such a good one.
Yeah, and then, I mean, it's always hard to guesstimate how team chemistry is going to play out until you're actually in that situation, but I mean,
You get the
all
feeling he'd
signs
fit
are
right in.
He would fit
Yeah.
right in, right? Yeah, exactly. So, I just get goosebumps every time we speculate about it. I mean,
I know.
I don't know. I would say, okay, if you had to put an odds on it, if you were the Las Vegas odds makers on Jose Ramirez playing for the Blue Jays next year?
I put it at 20%.
Yeah, 20% feels about right. Like, I feel
You know?
like probably not going to happen, but also wouldn't be shocked if it did.
Yeah. Like, I'd be shocked, but also not, if that makes sense. You know, like, it would be obviously the Jays. These rumors have existed for 18 months. I mean,
Let,
there's been talk of the Jays being in on Jose Ramirez.
let's frame it this way, Scott. What do you think the odds are Jose Ramirez plays for the Guardians next year? Is that a 50-50 toss up? You think it's 80%?
Well, if the rumors are true and the Blue Jays seem to be the only team showing heavy interest in Jose Ramirez, which in my opinion is
simple
ridiculous.
math at that point.
Yeah, then that's simple math. But if there are other teams in on him, then it would be ridiculous to think, like, it's kind of ridiculous to think the Jays would be the only team in on Jose Ramirez if there's even a chance that he's available.
Yeah, I would have to say, I would think it would be more like a 60-40 split in favor of him sticking around with the Guardians. Maybe even like a 65-35 split. I do think it's most likely he just stays because blockbuster trades are just rare. They're just hard to pull off. There's so much balancing the scales on both sides, and you're having to have two front offices agree on the value of, we're talking about a 5 or 6 piece deal here, right?
Exactly. So it's not even just agreeing on the value of Jose Ramirez, it's agreeing on the values of the prospects involved.
Exactly. And then you have the math of all the contracts and all the money's going both ways and how that fits the budget, right? So there's so many details to work out. I do think it's more likely that he just stays. That being said, if he goes anywhere, I would say at that point it becomes like a toss-up that it's the Jays. Probably if I had to rank where he plays next season, I would say Guardians are first by a large margin, then the Blue Jays, and then somebody else that I don't know. Like you said, anybody would benefit from adding him, right? It's just who's willing to pay that price.
Exactly.
So, all right, man. Well, that's all we got for today.
Okay. That was a great mailbag. Thank you so much, everybody who participated and kind of joined along. We really appreciate the community.
I don't know if we're going to get this episode up today or tomorrow. Today we're recording this on December 21st, and I'd be remiss if I didn't say a happy birthday to my beautiful mother, who will not listen to this podcast, but my brother and my dad both will, so maybe
they'll pass it along.
Relay the message to Mom so I don't have to call her.
You got to mention.
Absolutely. All right.
Yeah, happy birthday, Adam's mom.
Thank you so much. All right. We'll see you Friday for the next episode.
Absolutely. And thanks again, everybody, for listening. Really appreciate it. Of course, you can follow along on Instagram, The Walk Off Podcast, Twitter, @Walk Off Podcast. Adam runs the TikTok. And feel free to be interactive. Join the Discord. Send us messages. You will get on the mailbag if you do have questions and comments. We always love a nice interactive community. So please feel free to do so. Cheers, everybody.
Cheers.